Well, let's just say it like it is. We have a couple of changes. Couple on the way as we look towards Mother's Day tomorrow. Thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Colin Raskovich with the Watertown Weather Watch forecast. Now, there is a significant low pressure system that's working its way from the south up to the north, and with that, it's going to be spinning a good amount of moisture and energy into our region, some of which could has the potential of turning into strong to severe storms, mainly in the southeastern corner of South Dakota. But all of us do have that potential of seeing some thunderstorms through the course of the day, especially once we look later into the afternoon. Now, currently we have some light showers and potentially a couple little rumbles of thunder working its way on through. This is on the far northern side of this low pressure system that's finally starting to work its way into Nebraska, and that's just on the southern edge right there. But for the most part, we are going to stay on the rain side, because you might notice on the western half there is some blue showing up on the radar, and that is in fact snow. Yeah, this low pressure is strong enough that it is pulling down cold air out of Canada, enough to cool the atmosphere and produce snow. In fact, some places have the potential of seeing a foot of new snow accumulation. And let me just check the date. Oh yeah, it is May 9th. So, it can still happen this time of year as these air masses do struggle. The warm air from the south tries to push further north, and the cold air from the north still tries to retain its zone from the winter. Now, looking across the board, our high temperatures did have a good dividing line. We had 60s just on the eastern half of South Dakota versus most other places just struggling to reach into the 50s. In fact, look at basically 3/4 of the state only into the mid-40s for the high. All thanks to consistent rain and cloud cover blocking out the sun, and that colder air also working its way in on through. So what we're going to expect is this low pressure system is going to continue to lift up to the north, and with that we're going to see some thunderstorms potentially working their way on through. Heavy rainfall totals as well. We could see anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of new precipitation. So definitely a good downpour, a good dousing of rain for us. And once we look into Sunday afternoon and beyond, we do have the potential for some stronger systems to produce, especially in the southeastern corner, once again, of South Dakota, close to that Sioux Falls region. But most of us do have that potential for seeing a stronger thunderstorm work its way through our region. Now, for Tuesday, temperatures will be on the decline, as we're going to be waking up to 35 degrees for a low temperature that morning. All thanks to that low pressure system spinning down that colder air on the backside. Now, in terms of threat, quick discussion of the colors you're seeing. The light green is general thunderstorms, and then the darker green is at that point starts to look at just a couple of isolated systems working through. The yellow is a slight risk, and the orange is an enhanced risk. And enhanced really means there could be scattered, isolated storms with all this. So once we look towards Sunday, as you see in the upper left of your screen, this is how it's shaping up through our general region. For the most part, the strongest risk is going to be centralized in southeastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, and much of Iowa. But that slight risk does extend up to Watertown, and the marginal risk even up to Aberdeen, the marginal risk being the darker green color. And so all these places do have the potential for seeing an isolated storm with it. For the most part, we are watching for large hail and strong winds with this. Also with heavy amounts of rain. Once again, looking at rainfall totals anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches when all is said and done. This is just a huge plume of moisture that keeps working its way up to the north out of the Gulf. The other thing to talk about is just going to be the winds. These will be switching around, all thanks to this low pressure system slowly working its way up and increasing as well. So they're going to stay mostly out of the east, and that's actually what helped to keep our temperatures on the cooler side through much of the day, finally coming out of the north on Monday, and that's really going to start dragging down some cooler Canadian air into our general region. But for tonight, 43 degrees is going to be our low, still with the rain and a couple little rumbles of thunder, but not expecting anything severe through the course of the night. For Sunday, though, once we look into the afternoon, is when we're going to expect some stronger systems to start driving their way into our radar. And like I said, potentials are there for large hail, strong winds, and can't rule out the risk of a tornado. But I want to stress that a tornado is mostly going to be in that very southeastern corner of South Dakota, right around that Sioux Falls area. Now Sunday, Mother's Day, sorry, kind of a bit of a washout. Monday, holding on to plenty of lingering systems on the backside. Tuesday is kind of looking like the nicest day at this point. Dry, 55 degrees is all the warmer we're going to get, but you have to make do with what you get. The rest of the week, looking pretty wet. Now, the rest of the week, I do want to point out, those are more scattered systems. Those kind of work their way on in. It's not till Saturday we're watching for a more cohesive system to really work its way on in, offering us more precipitation with all that. But the big thing is tomorrow, we're going to start off with a little bit of rain. We'll get some clearing thanks to dry air working its way on into our region, and then that's going to help to heat up our atmosphere, and that's when we're going to watch some of those systems kick off once again right around that 3 p.m. hour, lasting until around 9:30, 10 p.m. into the course of the evening. But still after that, could have a couple of isolated systems still working their way on through our general region. So keep an eye on that, and as always, stay weather aware because these systems can develop quickly. All right, I'm meteorologist Colin Rask with your Watertown Weather Watch forecast. Thank you much for joining me, and have a wonderful, though wet, Mother's Day.